Good afternoon, students. Welcome back to online classes of analog communication. I hope you are all doing well at your homes. And as I have said in the last class that we have done with the 2 units of your analog communication. Okay, first unit was about continuous linear modulation schemes, and second one was your angle modulation schemes, right? I hope you all remember and you have been practicing all the equations that we have given. We have done in the classes and the problems, right? So some of the students still they haven't submitted their assignment. Please do submit the assignments. Okay, so in the first chapter what we have seen all about why you need the modulation scheme. Okay, what is the amplitude modulation, then what you are having double sideband suppressed carrier modulation, then single sideband suppressed carrier, then we have seen vestigial sideband, right? So in the first unit it was all about your linear modulation techniques. Okay, in the second chapter we have seen about your angle modulation. What are the angle modulations you are having? Phase and frequency modulation, and how we have to generate, how we have to demodulate, how we have to modulate, everything we have seen in the first 2 chapters, right? In the third chapter today we are going to start our third chapter, that is nothing but your analog pulse modulation schemes. Okay, go back to the first class, see what is the tree we have discussed, and see what are the different kinds of pulse modulations we have to see. Okay, in the first chapter we have seen the modulation techniques of your continuous wave modulation. So we have discussed that there are types of modulation we have. In that you are having 2 types of modulation, continuous wave modulation and pulse modulation. I'll give the link of the first class also, go through with that one so that you will get an idea about the tree or the classification of your modulation techniques, right? So in this modulation techniques we are having 2 types. Remember that we are having 2 types, that is first one is your continuous wave modulation and second one is your pulse modulation. Okay, it is in this semester we are seeing about only continuous wave and pulse wave for your analog communication. We are not going for the digital ones, right? So in analog communication we will be seeing about continuous wave modulation as well as the pulse modulation techniques, one part. Okay, in continuous wave modulation we have 3 different types. First one is amplitude modulation, then you had angle modulation. In angle again you had frequency modulation and phase modulation. That is different thing. Okay, if someone asks you in the question like what are the modulation techniques that are used for continuous wave modulation, then the modulation techniques are your amplitude modulation, frequency modulation and phase modulation. If someone asks what are the modulation techniques for pulse modulation, that pulse modulation techniques we will be seeing in the third chapter. That are nothing but your pulse amplitude modulation, pulse width modulation and pulse position modulation. These are the modulation techniques that will be used for your pulse modulations. Okay, in this analog one, not digital ones. Okay, pulse modulation is also 2 types. One is digital modulation, one is analog modulation. In analog modulation you will be having these 3 types. Okay, pulse amplitude modulation, pulse width modulation, pulse position modulation. Okay, we have seen in the first 2 chapters about the continuous wave modulation. For in third chapter we will be seeing the pulse modulation techniques. So before going to pulse modulation, what do you know what is meant by pulse? By the name itself you say you will be having continuous waveforms, time interval waveforms, correct? So first, as to get that one, we have to convert our continuous signal or the continuous message signal into the time period or the time divided signals. So as to convert that one, first we will be going for the sampling. So in this analog in this chapter we are having analog pulse modulation schemes. In this one we will be seeing all about your analog pulse modulation schemes. So in a continuous wave modulation, what are the techniques that we have seen? Amplitude modulation, phase modulation and frequency modulation, where information about the message signal is transmitted continuously in corresponding variations of amplitude, frequency and phase. Isn't it or not? So what you are doing there, you had continuous message signal and continuous carrier signal also you had there. So what we are doing over here, we are changing, we are converting here the continuous waveform into, as I have said, sampled at regular intervals. We will be dividing at regular intervals your message, and that is sampled. So what you are doing in pulse modulation systems, continuous waveforms are sampled at regular intervals, and the information regarding that signals at the sample times are transmitted with synchronizing pulses. What does it mean? What you are doing, you are doing continuous waveform into discrete, you are dividing. So as to divide that one, what you are going to do, we are sampling. That is nothing but you are sampling the signal at some regular intervals. If I have 10 minutes, if I will divide my message signal into 2 minutes per second, 2 bits per minute, okay, 2 bits per 2 minutes, okay. In 10 minutes I'll send 5 signals, okay, for each and every time period, okay. After 2 minutes again 1 pulse, after 2 minutes again 1 pulse, again information regarded signal at sample times, as well as they are transmitted with synchronizing pulses. It see whether which carrier is particularly synchronized with that one. I'll then synchronize and they'll modulate and they'll send the signals. So this is how you will be doing. You're converting your continuous waveform into sampled waveforms at a regular intervals, and your information is regarded as a signal at a sample times and transmitted with the synchronizing pulses. But whereas in your continuous analog modulation, what you are doing, the message signal is transmitted continuously in terms of corresponding variations, like your amplitude modulation, where your amplitude will be varying, frequency modulation, where your frequency will be varying, phase modulation, where your phase will be varying. So this is the difference between your continuous wave modulation techniques, or the continuous wave analog modulation, and your pulse wave analog modulations. Clear? So before, as we have to convert our signal continuous waveform into discrete one, first thing is you have to convert that one. So as to convert that one, we are going for the sampling. So sampling of your continuous waves. So what it means, what is the definition of your sampling? Sampling is the process of converting an analog signal into discrete amplitudes at a specified intervals or a specified sampling intervals. Okay, I have one more definition also. Sampling is the process of converting your continuous time signal into discrete time signal. Simply you can say like this also, correct? So I have given a figure over here. This is your analog signal x of t. Okay, these are the samples. This is how you will be converting your continuous waveform into a discrete waveforms at a discrete amplitudes at some specified intervals. You are having some specified sampling intervals. At that particular time, you will be dividing your continuous waveform into your discrete waveforms. Okay, this is how your signal will be converted. This analog signal is converted into sampled signal or the discrete signal. Okay. Now see, what is the sampling process? For a mathematical expression, we are giving as convert x of t into number of x of n, where n is number of samples. Okay, this is the impulse train we are giving. Okay, where x of n is sequence of values. This is your sequence of values that we are giving over here. So ideally your sampling is given as x of n is equals to output signal x of t, or x of t is equals to x of n into ts, number of samples into number of time intervals. You have converted that one, correct? Number of your time intervals or available time also, you can say that. So sampling, what you have said, it is a process of converting your continuous time signal into your discrete time signal, where your continuous message signal is divided into number of pulse trains, where ts is nothing but this can also be written as 1 by fs. It is gives you sampling frequency. Yes or no? So these are the, where n is your number of samples of your continuous time and ts is the sampling time period. This is your ts is nothing but your sampling time period, and n is your number of pulses. Clear? So we will go for the next slide. So now what you have to see is sampling of a low pass signals, or we can also say it as sampling theorem. How your signals are being moved, what is some conditions they are there. So how we are going to get that one? See, simply as to get your sampled signal or the discrete signal, there is only one technique of multiplying. You give your message signal m of t over here or x of t. From here you can give the sample, what you have to give, not, you should not give continuous time signal or carrier signal over here, but instead of that one we have to give a impulse train. What you'll say that one? Impulse train you have to give. That is to be multiplied by using a multiplier, and you will be getting a sampled signal x of n. Okay, so the sampling theorem is defined as the statement we are giving over here: a signal whose spectrum is band limited to b hertz. Okay, I am giving a frequency b hertz can be reconstructed exactly without any error from its sample taken if its rate r is greater than or equals to 2b. What is b over here? Band limited, spectrum of a band limited signal. Okay, we have given a signal whose spectrum is b hertz, so we will get exactly the same input signal at the output side, but the condition is that you have to get the rate, same sampling rate should be greater than that of your 2 times than that of your spectrum band. So at that particular condition you will be getting your original message signal without any errors. I'll repeat it once again. The sampling theorem states that if any band limited low pass signal, or for this low pass signals I am saying, if any band limited low pass signal, your message signal m of t should be, or b should be of, so how many hertz? It should be band limited up to b hertz. It can be reconstructed back to original signal completely without any distortions if the condition is that the sampling rate should be greater than or equals to 2b. So this is the condition where you will be getting the exact original message signal without any distortions. Okay, when you are converting from continuous wave to the discrete waves. Okay, this is a time domain representation of your sampling theorem signal, and this is a frequency domain representation. See, this is your band limited signal, nothing but your message signal. This is of your how many hertz? We have said b hertz. Okay, this is the periodic pulse train and nothing but your carrier signal that we are applying over here. Here multiplier we will be using this continuous waveform. C to D is nothing but your continuous waveform to discrete waveform you are converting. This is the original message signal. Okay, these both are multiplied now. Then you will be getting the sampled signal fs of t is equals to, this is one. This is the sampled signal that you will be obtaining. This is the time domain representation. Why I am giving time domain representation? I have discussed in the first class. For each and every particular time how your signal will be changed, that we can be seen in your time domain representation. But whereas in frequency domain representation, completely for a band of frequencies, for a particular band, how signal will be changes continuously, complete error that can be seen by using a frequency domain representation. So we have given here f of omega. This is your message signal. This is your periodic pulse trains. We are applying periodic pulse train as the carrier input to the multiplier. Okay, then you will be getting the sampled outputs in this one. For every particular interval you will be getting the sample outputs. So for the time domain representation, it is given as pt of t is equals to your message signal summation n is equals to minus infinity to infinity, that number of pulses, delta of t minus nd, and it is given a frequency domain representation is given as formula I have given p of omega is equals to, this is Fourier after doing all the calculations, Fourier transform, applying Fourier transforms and all, we will be getting this formula 2 pi by t summation of n is equals to minus infinity to infinity delta of omega minus 2n pi by d. Just remember the formula is more than enough. No need of all these mathematical calculations for this. Okay, so this is for your sampling theorem. Either you may get this answer for 2 marks question now. So sampling theorem is nothing but statement a signal whose spectrum is band limited to b hertz, okay, can be reconstructed exactly without any errors, but the condition should be that the rate, sampling rate should be greater than that of your 2b, nothing than a band limited signal. Your sampling rate should be double. Okay, so that is the condition. Now see next statement, that is your guard band. What is meant by your guard band? Guard banding is nothing but it is just a frequency gap. It's a frequency gap between your upper limit of a base signal, that is your message signal, and the lower limit of a double shifted band spectrum which is centered by omega s. That is nothing but it is the difference between, or the frequency gap between this one, okay, or the upper limit of the base signal and the lower limit of your double side band signal, double side double shifted band signal. So this is how you will be getting the Godwin. How this Godwin will be used laterwards. Okay. Now we are having two conditions for your sampling theorem. Whenever if a question is asked for 5 marks, you write the statement, you draw this graph, draw this block diagram. I have forgot to draw a signal over here, draw a arrow mark and write there you are getting a periodic pulse trains. Draw the periodic pulse trains, multiply that one and you will be getting the output. Draw this block diagram, draw this graph for frequency domain and time domain for your 2 marks answer. Okay, if you are getting this one, and write the formula. In case if you are getting for 5 marks, you have to write the two conditions also. The first condition, when the sampling rate R is greater than of 2B, that is nothing but omega S is greater than your 2M. Okay, message signal. Then the guard band is greater than 0. It means your guard band is greater than 0. It means the original signal can be recovered exactly by using a low pass filter. Okay, which is having the cutoff frequency. We'll give some cutoff frequency. After that it will filter out. If it won't go beyond that one, and you will be getting a original message signal. When the condition is sampling rate R is greater than 2B. In case if you are having R is less than 2B, means your sampling rate has been decreased. It is less than your 2 times that of your band. Okay, that the band where we have considered, you will be getting your message signal. If it is less than that one, R is less than 2B, at that time what happens, there is an overlap between the spectrum of the baseband signal and the double shifted band signal, which will get some errors. See this one. So your original message signal cannot be reconstructed. So what we have said, if R is less than 2B, then whatever overlaps is your message signal will be overlaps baseband signal and your double shifted band. This you will be shifting your band, so we are dividing them into intervals. They both will be overlapping. If you are overlapping this particular signal, what happens? Completely this part of information will be lost. It will be mixed up. You will get a distortion over here. So your original message signal that cannot be reconstructed. So the condition is, as to reconstruct or to recover your original message signal, your sampling rate, okay, R should be greater than your 2B. Okay, this is the condition. Okay, next, this is how you will be proving that one. In case, and this the minimum sampling rate where R is equals to 2B, that is omega S is equals to 2 omega M, is called as the Nyquist rate. You may get this answer, this question for 1 mark also in sub questions. So what is the Nyquist rate for the sampling? That is 2 into highest frequency component. Also you can write omega M is also given as highest frequency component. So 2 into omega M or 2 into FM. Nyquist rate is equals to 2 into FM. So what it is? Nyquist rate of the sampling is the theoretical minimum sampling rate at which the signal can be sampled and still can be reconstructed from its samples without any distortion. Then it is called as your Nyquist rate. What is actually Nyquist rate? We said we are having two conditions. One is greater than R if it is greater than 2B. Note down when I am saying this. 3 conditions you will be having for the sampling theorem. If R is greater than 2B, then what happens? Your sampling rate is greater than your band value. Then your original signal can be recovered exactly by using a low pass filter without any distortions. If your sampling rate is less than 2B, then what happens? What it will be done? You will be having overlap between your signals and you will get some distortions and your original message signal cannot be reconstructed. And the third condition is your R is equals to 2B. It means the Nyquist rate of the sampling is theoretical minimum sampling rate at which the signal can be sampled and still it can be sampled over here. When R is equals to 2B also we can sample and we can get the original message signal without any distortions. So it is called as your Nyquist rate, and you can give the formula Nyquist rate is equals to 2 into omega M or 2 into FM also you can write, where FM or omega M is the highest frequency component of the message signal that is present. Clear? So I hope you are clear with the sampling theorem. Okay, how we are converting. Now very importantly we are having the sampling techniques. So sampling techniques are of 3 types. So very important. You compulsory will get a question on this. Very easy. Okay, sampling theorems or the techniques of the sampling, you are having 3 types. First one is, actually first we have to go for the ideal sampling, but I have written natural sampling. Either one is okay. Natural sampling, flat top sampling and ideal sampling. I'll first tell you about the ideal sampling, then we'll go for the natural and flat top. Okay, in ideal sampling is nothing but just you have to convert. What you have to do, ideal sampling can also be called as ideal or instantaneous sampling, which uses the principle of only multiplication. What it uses, it just multiplies your message signal and the train of pulses of your carrier signal. This is called as your just ideal sampling. Sampling is you have to convert your continuous time signal into discrete time signal, correct? Now in that one you are having three techniques: ideal, natural and flat top. If you are going for the ideal sampling, it is a simple method. Okay, it is instantaneous, quickly you can sample the signals. What you have to do, just a train of impulses you have to take as a carrier signal, consider a message signal, we use a multiplier for that one. Okay, the principle of operation there is multiplier. Okay, you just use a multiplier, multiply both of them, you will be getting a sample discrete signal. Yes, you are not using a continuous time carrier wave, you are using a discrete carrier wave, that is nothing but your impulse train you are using. This is how it will be look. See, this is your carrier signal, impulse train of impulse signals, that is multiplied with your message signal, we are getting a message signal, and this is how your sampled signal will be obtained. And this is the formula for the Fourier frequency spectrum of your ideal sampled signal is given as G of f is equals to fs into sigma n is equals to minus infinity infinity, we have to consider n into x of f minus fs. Okay, f is nothing but your total frequency we have said, and fs is your sampling rate also you can consider. Okay, so this is how. Now see the working, I'll explain what is simply working. What you are considering the circuit over here, normal switch I am considering. The signal is nothing but your normal switch, and input signal is your x of t. X of t is nothing but your message signal, right? The operation, how you are going to see the working operation of the circuit is, it's very simple. When the switch is on, okay, whenever this switch is on, then we'll get an input reproduced at the output. Okay, whatever the input you are having, that is reproduced at the output. Okay, for that, on time the amplitude value of m of t will be taking. So what amplitude we are taking? Amplitude value of m of t means your message signal m of t will be taking this train into your message signal. Okay, this will be taking the amplitude of your message signal m of t. Okay, this is how it will be. When the switch is off position, means if this switch is particularly off, then the output will be of course 0, because we are not going, this is not going, it is not going to multiply with your message signal, right? So it will be 0. So this is how you will be getting your ideal sampling. Just you have to use a normal circuit where you will be having a message signal and a switch. When a switch is on, this carrier, this pulse of trains will be multiplied with your message signal, and they will be multiplying with the amplitude of that particular signal they will be using, and you will be getting a pulse of trains. Okay, train of pulses you will be getting, and you will be getting your discrete converted message signal. Okay, so first one is your ideal sampling, and that is the frequency spectrum of your ideal sample signal. Okay, that is G of s is equals to fs into summation n is equals to minus infinity to infinity capital X of f minus fs, where f is the total frequency and fs is your sampling rate. Now see, you will be going for the, go back and see the flat natural sampling. Okay, now you are seeing the natural sampling. In this natural sampling, it is a practical method where we will be using this one. So in this method, the sampling in which the pulse has infinite width, which is equals to tau. We are having the infinite width of the pulse of trains we are using. So sampling is done in accordance with the carrier signal, which is digital in nature. So we have to convert that one. So what we are having, with the help of this functional diagram, we will see how actually the natural sampling is to be done. Remember these figures, these are very important. The circuit which is having over here, we are using, this circuit is used to produce your natural sampling. Okay, so what is the first signal that you are giving? X of t is nothing but your message signal M of t, which is applied to a switching circuit, okay, which is controlled by a sampling signal. Okay, here this one, this is controlled by a sampling signal. Here also we are having a switch. Here at this part we are generating, or we are having the C of t is nothing but your carrier signal. Here also simple method of operation, principle of operation is nothing but your multiplication only. A sampled signal G of t is obtained by multiplying the sampling function C of t and as well as the input signal X of t. So your message signal and the carrier signal, which is the pulse of trains, strain of pulses, which is multiplied and given as the output of G of t. This is the natural sampled signal. How you will be getting that? See, first one is when you are going, when your switch is on, okay, what happens? They both will be, when the switch is on, the output of the circuit will produce the instantaneous values of M of t and the train of pulses. When both are on, they both will produce message signal and C of t, but they both will be multiplied and you will be getting the output over here. Whenever the switch is off, the output of your message signal will be 0, and mathematically the output is defined as your 0 only. So we will give it as, whenever your switch is on, you will be getting a sampled signal, that is X of t into C of t. Now see, this is the message signal and this is your train of pulse. Okay, the pulse train, the carrier signal, which is given over here. When the switch is on, they both will be multiplied. It will be considering the amplitude of your message signal. So this is how you will be getting your message signal. And see, when the amplitude is changing over here, no, it will be same. Okay, in natural sampling, the top of the pulses are according to the instantaneous values of the amplitude of your message signal. See, this carrier signal will be changing in accordance with your message signal. This is not going, this will be same. Okay, so so what happens, we have infinite value of the power. Due to this one, we will be having infinite value of the power. So as to reduce that one, we need we will be going for the another sampling, which is called as your flat top sampling. Flat top. Okay, see, remember this one, this is the carrier signal and this is the message signal. We both are multiplying by using this switching circuitry. This both are multiplied, you will be getting this train, correct? So what happens here, whenever this message signal is changing its amplitude, the carrier signal will also be changing its amplitude. It won't be constant, but the thing is, the carrier signal's amplitude should be constant. It should not change according to this one. So what happens here, whenever you are changing this amplitude of your message signal, this is also be going to change. So this is a drawback for this one. So as to overcome that one, we will be going for a flat top sampling. Here in this flat top sampling, what you are having, this sampling is generated by using the circuitry which we have seen here. We are using a 2 FET transistors, and this circuit is usually called as your sample and hold circuit. Sample and hold circuit. Okay, in this circuit, what you are going to see, this is also similar to that of your natural sampling practically. Okay, in comparison to your natural sampling and flat top sampling, that can be easily obtained. But the thing over here is, see, I'll tell the operation afterwards. See, here you are having the samples. At this particular point, we will be getting the samples. We won't use this one because actually this what you will say, carrier signal should be constant. It should not be changing its amplitude. It should be changed according only to your message signal amplitude. Then only we can get our original message signal. If this amplitude, your carrier signal amplitude as well as your message signal, they both get mixed up, then it is very difficult to get your message signal. So what happens, we are going for the flat top sampling. The top of the samples will remain constant. They won't change. The tops means the amplitude of your carrier signal should not change. Okay, they will be remain constant and is equal to the instantaneous value of your message signal. See, correct? I am getting over here this top, flat top. This is flat top. It won't change. Carrier signal won't change. Okay, this will be same. And then you will be getting your exact message signal. Correct or not? Okay, this is the instantaneous value of your message signal X of t at the start of the sampling process. And the circuit which you are using is sample and hold circuit are used in this type of sampling. So for flat top sampling, which kind of circuit you are using? A sample and hold. In natural and ideal sampling, just a multiplier, simple circuitry, just a multiplier which is used to multiply your message signal as well as your carrier signal. Now see the sample and hold circuit, which is consisting of your two FETs, two field effect transistors, which will be acting as a switches. They will be also acting as switches. Okay, the sampling switch is closed for a shorter duration. First one, this part I am telling you. Okay, this is the sampling switch, this is the discharge switch. These two acts as the switches, and the first part, the sampling switch, is closed for a short duration by short pulse is applied. At this one we are applying the further starting. Okay, short pulse is applied at the gate G1 of the transistor. Okay, at this gate we are applying a short pulse. So for what happens here, what you are doing, this switch will be closed. Okay, during this period the capacitor C is quickly charged upon to the voltage equal to the instantaneous sample value of the incoming signal. So what it does, what capacitor does, now this switch is off. Okay, so this is on. So this capacitor is going to charge up to what value it is charging? It is charging up to the voltage level which is equals to the incoming message signal amplitude. Means the voltage of your message signal, what you are having, up to that level. Suppose if I consider 5 is the voltage of your amplitude value of your message signal. So what capacitor charges? It also charges up to your 5 volts. Okay, quickly it charges. Okay, now after that one, now the sampling switch is open. Now this switch gets opened. Okay, this is for one pulse we have given. After this complete pulse, whenever this complete pulse is completed, then automatically your sampling switch will be on. Okay, then your G2 will be off. Yes or no? Now the sampling switch is open and the discharge switch is then closed. This is the discharge switch, right? Now this will be closed by a pulse which is applied at the gate G2. Now we are applying a pulse over here. Now this discharge switch will be closed and this G1 will be on condition. This switching sampling switch will be on. Now what happens? What happens to the capacitor now? Now due to this, the capacitor C is discharged to the 0 volts. Correct or not? First it will be charging when your sampling switch is off by G2. Now it will, now G1 is on, means your sampling switch is on, G2 is off, then it will be going to discharge. So the discharge switch is then open and thus the capacitor has no voltage. So that's the reason the output of the sample and hold circuit consists of a sequence of flat top samples. Correct or not? We are having a flat and a top. This is a flat top, continuous sample and then holding, sample and holding. Okay, it will go, it will sample charge, then it will discharge. Again it will go and sample, it will charge, again discharge. Then due to how this is, due to this circuitry of your sample and hold circuit, we get a sequence of your flat top samples. Correct? This is what we have said. These capacitor charges up to which part ma? Up to the voltage level or the amplitude level of your message signal. So up to amplitude level of your message signal it will charge. When G2 is off, what it goes discharge. Then afterwards G1 is again off, means the sampling switch is off. Again due to this discharge switch, again it will be charging. Okay, after some time when it is on, then it will be discharging. So due to this circuitry we will be getting our sampling. We'll be getting a flat top sampling. So this is the equation for your flat top sampling. That is G of F is equals to Fs into summation of n is equals to minus infinity to infinity x of f minus n into Fs into h of f. H of f or h of t in terms of time. This is frequency domain representation. If I consider the time domain representation, h of t or h of f is nothing but it is a rectangular pulse of a unit amplitude. It is nothing but a rectangular pulse of a unit amplitude. We are sampling and holding, we are getting a simple single rectangular pulse. No more. It is nothing but your rectangular pulse of a unit amplitude. Okay, h of f is a rectangular pulse of a unit amplitude. So this is how you will be getting your, what is the tau value over here? Tau is nothing but your time, duration of each sample, which is length of length for a time tau. Okay, that is particularly a particular time. So this we are having three kinds of sampling techniques. Now first you go for the ideal sampling, then natural, then flat top. Okay, the ideal sampling, what you are having, simply just you have to multiply a pulse of normal train of pulses by using a switch, a carrier, and a message signal will be multiplied, and you will be just converting a continuous waveform into your discrete waveform. This one, just these pulses will be there, no pulses, just a unit impulse. Then you will be having, what you are going to have then is natural sampling. In natural sampling, what you are going, we are getting the pulse of trains, they are sampled, but the thing is we will be having the same amplitude will be changing according to your message signal. That should not be done. Okay, it should be constant. That you will be getting by using the flat top sampling. Most of the communications we used this flat top sampling only. Okay, this was about your types of sampling or the sampling techniques, then about your sampling theorem and the sampling, and about your sampling of your low pass signal or the sampling theorem. Okay, I hope you are clear with the first topic or the first two topics of your third chapter. Okay, in case of any doubts, please do let me know. We'll wind up today's class up to here itself. Okay, thank you.